Coach, you're in pretty elite company with Coach Barnes. You two are the only two coaches in NCAA history to have 100-plus wins at 3 power conference schools. Just what does it mean to be listed as one of two with Coach Barnes?
He has been incredibly kind to me. I have. There's two coaches that I watch every game they play, every press conference, read every article they're quoted in. Coach is one of them. Obviously, I've known him for a long, long time, and just have immense respect for him. And even in the 7 games that we've played against one another, because of my adoration to him, it's a unique prep only because I follow him, his teams, wherever he coaches year round. And so I struggle trying to answer a question when the question regards me, but I'm very honored, very thankful. I know all 23 coaches on that list, and uh, some of them are not living anymore. But whether they coached at the Power Five level or not, to achieve that is pretty cool. So I'm thankful.
Buzz, you see many similarities between what Tennessee does and what y'all do?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Their defense is number one in the country. I think our defense is good, but from a coaching lens, they play different. Their personnel's terrific. I think number five's in a category of his own on both sides of the ball. I think 15's the best defender that I've seen in this league. What two has done is like unbelievable in many respects. And I actually think that their returning players, you can tell Coach Barnes, his staff, there's a consistent player development program at Tennessee because you can see those guys get a little better and a little better and a little better. And five is an example of that. But they have other players that are growing, that are sophomores, that are now juniors, that have been in the program multiple years. And in this new era of how do you do it, I think the mixing and matching that they've done over in our time here since the portal began is an example of what to follow. There's some things, Olin, that they do in the first 6 to 8 seconds of the shot clock that when you watch it tomorrow, you would go, I think they're doing the same thing. It's kind of what they do after that is different than what we do after that. I think defensively, they're number one in the country at not giving you shots at the rim. We try to protect the rim. It's just in a different manner.
Wings per game splits against Tennessee is some of the best of any teams that
Oh, really?
played. Can you think of a through line, or is there
Well, it's just a couple of 6 foot and under unbelievable guards running around. Maybe that's some of it. I didn't know that.
He's averaging like 17.4 points.
That'd be great. If we can do it one more time, that'd be great.
It seems like, mostly a lot of times because of how good they've been is probably the answer, but it seems like when y'all do face Tennessee, it is in big moments of the season, SEC tournament. Does it always feel like that game is elevated just a little bit?
Yes, sir. And I know we didn't perform very well last year after we played them, but the first time, because they were a mirror opponent last year, right? But I think the second time we played them, would have been the same game in SEC play. In other words, in my brain, let me see how I can say this a little better. In other words, we have 5 games left in the regular season. And I think when we played Tennessee last year at Tennessee, when they handle this. When we finished that game, we had 5 games left. Do you think that's?
I'd have to look it up, but that sounds about right.
Yeah. And you can probably research this. I think some of the timing of the games are eerily similar too. Like, I don't know if year one, when we won at their place on Coach Summit Day, I don't think that was the same. And I don't think we played them in the COVID season. But I think the last 4 years, like, the timing has been like right now,
It
which
was
is,
4 last year, but within a week, yeah.
is that right? Yeah.
Because you played each other so much, it seems like in your time here and the players on this team, since they've been here for a while, does it feel like there's a familiarity more so with Tennessee than other teams? And does that help at all?
Well, I think they're longtime returning players and our longtime returning players, I do think they're familiar. They're familiar with the games that we've played one another. I think we played them in the finals of the SEC tournament. I think that probably adds a little bit relative to the returning players. And I think each year, is it Boots? Is it Dex? Is it Zoo? Is it Gochi? Just like number 34th for them has been a huge addition in the portal. Number 2 for them has been a huge addition. And so it's like there's this critical mass group of returners that know, and you can kind of tell even on Thursday morning when we started prep, you could kind of tell that our returners are telling our new guys who are actually old that this is what it is. And you can they didn't tell me that, but I could kind of feel as I was presenting different things. And I would say probably some of that happens at Tennessee too. And like, I think without ego, I think that's a good thing, right? Like they're letting their teammates know, hey, this is the standard and this is really what's going on. So I think that's healthy.
With the turnovers you guys had on Tuesday, was that more Mississippi State's infliction? Was that things you guys weren't doing well? And then, as you move forward from that, trying to, reduce that total, just, what have you guys been trying to do in practice and talk about that, not trying to have as many live ball turnovers particularly?
Yeah, I mean, mathematically, that was the game. But it really wasn't the game. It was the half. We had 5 turnovers at halftime. Like, don't tell the kids this. I know some of them watch it, but we would take 5 turnovers a half the rest of the way. But when it's 12 in the next half, and then to your point, when they have 17 steals and we count block shots as live ball turnovers, okay, well, that's 22 times we didn't shoot. And so mathematically, obviously, we're not going to make a basket. But for us, we're not going to get an offensive rebound. And for us, we're not going to get fouled and or have a chance to make a free throw. And then, not always, but a portion of why our defense is good is if we score any kind of basket, our zone pressure, it probably helps us with time of possession, but then it ensures that our defense is set. And if 22 times you give it to them, probably 20 of those 22, you're never going to get your defense set. And so now maybe what is one of the better things we do is playing from a disadvantage. And some of the things that are required of us in our recipe offensively, we're not accumulating the volume of what we need. Like we defensive rebounded 84%. That we moved up 25 spots. It's the highest we've ever been. But like I was explaining to the guys, if I give you the ball and go, you go that away with your team, they're probably making it. So there's not a rebound to get. They're shooting 100%. And if we do that 22 times, it's just hard. But at halftime, it's a rock fight. It's exactly what you would think. It's a 1-point game. Physically, as physical as what it'll be tomorrow morning, but in the second half, it just we 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 have done an unbelievable job, in my opinion, not of being the best team or having the most talent or the best coaches, but we've done a very consistent job of hitting our ceiling at what we know is most important. And in the second half, we weren't in the range of our ceiling, and we were playing from the floor too much. In that kind of game, you can't do it.
You know, you guys are, if I read it correctly, you guys are 3-1 following a loss this year. Is there any?
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, if I read it correctly.
Well, we've had 6.
Yeah, so it's this.
Well, one of them was back-to-back losses.
So that's the one loss. Um, so
That would have been Kentucky. At Kentucky would have been the back-to-back.
Yes, sir. And then, so with that being said, I don't.
What was the score of that game? 80-69?
81-69.
81-60.
Yeah. So is there anything that you guys take from that, like mental reset, conversations, kind of flush it and forget it? Like, how have you guys been so successful in that?
Yeah, bits and pieces of all that. A mature group. You don't really have time to linger, even when the results are good. Like 3-1's good, but pretty good too when the result is good. Responding in a good way. I just think that this tension is so great. Like, man, I can't believe we turned the ball over 12 times and had 17. Yeah, I know, me too. Yeah, I know, but we better get going because we're playing a top 3 team on Saturday. And so, man, that was fun. We won however many in a row. Yeah, I know, but we better get right because we're playing at Mississippi State, So I think that's part of it. And I also think there's a lot of trust in our group. And so, regardless of position or title or age, everyone is allowed to say what they believe to be the truth. And I don't know if that's counseling or kumbaya sessions or just telling the truth. There's a lot of truth that's told. And I think that probably helps recenter from good and bad things quicker.
Buzz, I know it's a little bit of ways, but just the implications of this game from a seeding standpoint with the SEC tournament, and standings and tiebreakers and things. Is that even cross your mind at all, or is that a conversation, motivation point?
Yeah, no, I think just like most players in this day and age, the information is readily available. So it's not like you're keeping a secret. But as it relates to, do we explain all of that? Not really. And I'm not saying that's wrong, and I'm not saying that's right. I think the magnitude of the game, the competition, the level, the exposure, after what transpired on Tuesday, I think 98% of our energy is going in that direction. But whoever Brad asked to come in here today, if you ask them, they would say they know. And I don't know it as well as you do, but I know we're in the mix.
With how good of a shot blocking team they are, first, just
Yeah.
what makes them so effective in that regard, and also what challenges that? How do you even attack that?
Well, they are among the top 10 in the country at scoring droughts, like consecutive minutes that teams don't score. Some of that is just because of their on-ball pressure. Some of that is because of their talent. Some of that's because they just take it from you. And then some of that is when you try to think you're going to get a shot. I think they're 8th in the country at block shots. And so some of the same problems that we had on Tuesday, in the second half specifically, we'll have to for sure pass that test tomorrow, because it's going to be a reoccurring thing, not just today, but we'll have to do a lot better than we did on Tuesday.
Other than the turnovers.
34 is an elite shot blocker.
Other than the turnovers that you talked about being that outlier stat, what do you feel like your guys have to do well tomorrow in order to be successful?
I would say, Donna, that would be the first thing, right? We just can't give it straight up to them. For easy math, like we need to shoot more balls than the opponent. I think that's kind of part of our recipe. And we count balls as field goal attempts, but also free throw attempts. And in the outlier stat, sometimes there's an outlier stat, Zoo at Oklahoma. That's a good outlier stat. 4 at South Carolina. That was an outlier stat. You want to limit as many outlier stats as you can, good or bad, and just play down the middle. And shooting more balls is very prevalent to our recipe. It means we play with a low turnover rate, most likely. It means that we play with a high offensive rebound percentage, most likely. It could mean we created turnovers defensively, and we're okay with it. We do a pretty good job of that. And then it could be that we only gave them one shot. We didn't give them multiple shots. And so all of those things are correlated, but I would say this no matter who we were playing or where we were playing, but based on what I've studied with Tennessee and what makes them so successful, who shoots more balls? And then another detail, it's a dead ball. So during a dead ball in basketball, you're either shooting a free throw or the opponent shooting a free throw. It's either out of bounds offense or out of bounds defense, or you're coming out of a timeout. And I think our dead ball special teams has to be very good.
You excited for another 11 o'clock?
I would play at 11 every day. I have always woke up early because I'm from the country, but yes, sir. We can play the tournament, whichever game we're in versus whoever. I'm for it.
Good to see CJ be able to kind of get.
Hey, I thought he was like, I don't know if I should say it publicly. He was like a sniper at first half. Like, oh, that helps us. And it wasn't as if they didn't know who CJ was, but that sure does help our team, you know. But if you turn the ball over, then he doesn't get to shoot either.
Tennessee has scored 30 or more points in the paint over the last 5 games. I was wondering if there's going to be some extra measure taken in the paint to stop them.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. They have somebody not named Hayden listening to what I'm saying. And I know you're new, and I'm not being a jerk to you at all, but I try to not discuss exactly what we're trying to do just to kind of disguise it a little bit. They're top 5 in the country in the numbers that matter, basically for 2 reasons. They're going to score in the paint, and you're not going to score in the paint. And if there was only one stat that you were going to pay attention to tomorrow, that would be what you should, not the one that Brad's people do, because that's always wrong. If they shoot it and score it in the paint, or Texas A&M shoots it and scores it in the paint, count fouls too, free throw makes, that will probably decide the game. They're literally the best in the country. That's their defense is number 1, but protecting the rim defensively, they're number 1. And so they score more points than the opponent because the opponent scoring 2.
Like the black uniforms?
I don't know. Are we wearing black?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, my job's changed. I know Olin doesn't think it has, but the last 4 or 5 years, the job's really changed. And I've tried to adapt and spend time studying and learning, and that's one of the buckets I gave up. The only equipment bucket I'm in charge of now is quote shirts. So thanks for telling me. We're wearing black? I'm going to wear black then. Men in Black, Olin. You saw that movie. There's 3 of them?
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Okay, well, so that's how I'm older than you.
No, but okay.